Citizen Sleeve. Hello, I am Citizen Sleeve, and damn do we have a lot to talk about in this video. E3, well, didn't we see a lot there? I'm going to go in order of each conference, knock out their games, talk a bit about what happened, and yeah, we'll go from there. First up, Electronic Arts. So, EA didn't have a great deal to show, and quite frankly their presentation was entirely disappointing. They started with Battlefield 5, we had a new trailer, mainly CGI, not really gameplay, and they announced the inevitable Battle Royale mode. FIFA 19 out next year is going to have, or sorry, September this year, is going to have a Champions League, because the license ran out with Pro Evo, and now they've nabbed it. In other exciting FIFA news, FIFA 18 this year will get the World Cup. Free DLC for your favourite football gaming experience. Then we had an indie game called Sea of Solitude from an indie studio out in Germany. And it was kind of awkward. A German lady from the development team spoke about the game and its design for way too long, and then they showed the trailer. I maybe would have showed the trailer first, but hey, it's fine. Then we had a bit of an Unravel 2 reveal. So a sequel to the original yarn-based indie puzzle platformer, and it was announced that it's out right now. So it came out on that moment when they showed the game in their press conference, which was actually kind of cool. Then we had NBA Live 19, and we had Madden 19, and the 19s, the usual sports games with EA. It was pretty cringy, though, when they brought out the Madden champion from the prior year with his championship belt. Yes. And then we finished on the game I think most people were waiting for, and that was Anthem. Now, Anthem is a weird one. Off the back of Mass Effect Andromeda, not doing particularly well, or being received particularly well for obvious reasons, this is kind of BioWare's we need to get this right game. Now, it did look pretty good, I have to say. I'm not sure I'm going to dive in yet, we'll wait and see. Definitely need to see way more gameplay, way more mission types, way more about the actual functions within the game. But it does look kind of cool. Now, what they did say is there won't be any loot boxes or a season pass. Is that really something that's great now for a company who started all of this with FIFA back in the day, to then turn around and say, we're not doing it, we're consumer friendly? I don't think so, but I guess it's a step in the right direction. Apart from the fact that they didn't mention any of the sports games won't feature loot boxes, which is exactly what FIFA Ultimate Team is. But hey ho. So, as you can tell, I wasn't overly impressed by EA's 2018 press conference. Next up, and the company I actually think had the best conference this year, which may surprise some people, but quite frankly, they just had loads of cool stuff to show, and quite a lot of surprises, is Microsoft. So I opened up with the Halo Infinite teaser trailer, and really it wasn't to show off the game so much as the new engine the game is being made in, which is the Slipspace engine. It's ready for next gen. I think that's what the point is. We don't know anything about Halo Infinite right now, but at least we've got some kind of snippet. We knew it was coming anyway, but it's nice to see that they've moved forward with a different engine. Then we've got Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Now, Ori and the Blind Forest was a really kind of big hit on Xbox, and I think that this will do well as well. It looked amazing graphically. It looked like the same kind of gameplay, but amped up, obviously. And yeah, I think it'll be a nice indie addition to the Xbox whenever it releases. We then saw Sekiro Shadows Die Twice from Dark Souls from Software. It's very Dark Souls, and it has a Japanese setting, looking at samurais and things like that. So I'm kind of looking forward to that one. There's a lot of samurai stuff going on at this year's E3. Then we had the Adele May Cry 5 trailer. Very stylish. Actually reminded me of the DMC that Ninja Theory made. Oddly, kind of. And yet Capcom didn't continue with them. So, we'll see. But yeah, I'm a bit of a Devil May Cry fan. Not huge. So we'll see when it comes out. We'll see when we see more gameplay and more information about it. Then we had Fallout 76, with a bit of a Todd Howard entrance to let us know what's going on. Second trailer. It had a bit more than the first, but obviously Bethesda are going to hold that back for their main conference, which was later in the day. I'm kind of interested in Fallout 76, but we'll talk more about that when we get to Bethesda's press conference. Then we had Don't Nod Entertainment's Life is Strange sequel, Captain Spirit, which seems like it's about a boy who maybe is suffering from an illness and is housebound or something like that, and therefore plays out his imagination as if it was real. Kind of interests me. Seems quite intriguing, but again, we shall see. Then we had that one game that's apparently not coming out till the middle of 2022. But in fact, it's not. It's coming out in February next year, and it is Crackdown 3. So we got new footage, we got gameplay footage, and we got Terry Crews again. You can't go wrong with a bit of Terry Crews. I kind of like the look of it. I didn't like Crackdown 2. I did quite like Crackdown 1. We'll see where this goes. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, February 19th, if that was a major delay, that really isn't that bad. Especially if they can polish it, add more content, all that cool stuff. Next we get Nier Automata Gold Edition, which is actually released in June 26th on Xbox One. Now this has obviously been out on PlayStation 4, and a lot of people like it. Now I have a PS4, haven't picked it up yet, but I might grab this maybe on my Xbox and have a little play, we shall see. Then we had Metro Exodus, and wow, it just looked stunning. The world effects, the lighting system, the dynamic lighting system, the way it changed, the snow and particle effects, the above ground and below ground, like they've really got this hub world thing looking very, very cool indeed. So that's one I'll be interested to keep following and jump in as soon as it comes out. The prior two Metros are great, so if you haven't played them, give them a go. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was up after Metro, and we saw some new footage. We've seen a lot of it before, nothing kind of new that blew me away particularly, but I did like the other two Tomb Raider reboots, and I will be keeping an eye on it as well. Now Kingdom Hearts 3 had some new footage, and it was quite interesting that Microsoft managed to get that from Squeenix, just because they're not huge in Japan. Obviously they're never going to do particularly well in Japan, I don't think, but they do keep trying. So at least at this conference we had something which would cater to those fans and Disney fans. I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game, not sure it's my thing, but I'm glad for anyone who's been desperate to play the new one. Then we had Forza Horizon 4. Oh yes. Now it's not my, it's not my type of game. I don't like realistic driving games. Although this one is not like Forza 7, it's a bit more playgroundy. It's a bit more fun in that sense, different vehicle types, off-roaders. But the important stuff for people who want to know, it has a dynamic day and night weather cycle, and a lot of players I think will get into that. And apparently it syncs up with players around you, so you're not all playing different weather types on different. That'd be weird. That will be quite weird. And it's in Britain. It's set in Blighty. So anyone out there who is interested in driving around the great roads of Britain, right there for you. After that we had a Just Cause 4 trailer, and it looks like Just Cause. It's got lots of explosions again, it looks bigger, it looks better, character movement, more moves, what you would expect from another iteration of Just Cause 4. We had a bit of a teaser for Gears 5, and I do mean a bit of a teaser. We saw Marcus back again, we saw the character from Gears 4, and it's all going a bit wrong again, which is what happens in Gears. I'll be looking forward to seeing a bit more of that and some gameplay. And finally, MS finished off their press conference in style with a brand new Cyberpunk 2077 trailer. And this is a game I am really stoked for. I'm a Witcher 3 fan. I like what CD Projekt Red do in terms of supporting their games after launch. And I love Cyberpunk. Blade Runner's my favourite film. And I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to love it. Bit of controversy because some people, well, it's not third person, it's going to be first person, it's not going to be the same as Witcher. It's not going to be the same as Witcher, no. It's a different game. And I don't mind the first person thing at all. I love RPGs in first person or third person. It's fine. No issue. Look quite distinct, but also kind of generic, which worries me a little bit. The problem with making a Cyberpunk game is you often end up bringing in every single thing that's generic Cyberpunk to make your thing look like Cyberpunk. So we'll see what they do with it. But I'm cautiously optimistic, I would say. Okay, a few other things before we move on to Bethesda, and mainly, that's the new studios. Now, if you remember in my E3 Leaks, Rumours and Speculation video prior to E3 2018, I said I didn't think Microsoft was going to announce that they had any more development studios. Well, I was quite wrong. I was quite wrong. So they've got 5 new studios. They have one they've created themselves called The Initiative, which is a Santa Monica-based studio, led by the former studio head of Crystal Dynamics, which is very interesting. We have Undead Labs, which kind of makes sense. They've made 2 State of Decay games now that have been quite popular, and with the support that Microsoft can give, they could do some pretty cool stuff, I think. Then Playground Games, again, another no-brainer. They've been making the Forza Horizon games, doing a very good job of them, and they're starting to get a great mastery of open worlds. And I have a sneaking suspicion they are the ones who will be making the new Fable 4. But we shall see. Then we have Compulsion Games, who of course are the devs of We Happy Few. That's a weird one to me. A bit weird, because they've only just released the new version of We Happy Few, and obviously Gearbox are publishing it, so I'm not sure. We'll see what kind of stuff they come up with in future. And then finally, we have Ninja Theory, which I actually think is a blinding acquisition. So there's a bit of history there. Phil Spencer worked on Kung Fu Chaos back in way early Xbox days, so they have a bit of a relationship. And these are the guys who have made Heavenly Sword, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, DMC, the Devil May Cry game, and the recently critically acclaimed Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Single-player driven studio with an eye for cinematics and amazing dialogue and sound, with the support of what Microsoft can provide. I'm very excited by that. I think that could be pretty awesome. Right then, a few other things from that conference. I'll just quickly move over because we'll probably cover them later on. Division 2, that was there. They showed some stuff. Tales of Vesperia is being released in a definitive edition. There's a new PUBG map coming, as is a Cuphead expansion. Deadlight 2 was there. That actually looked rather, yeah, let's try that. First was kind of cool. Second one, though, yeah, could get into that. Battletoads. Oh, yes. There's going to be a reboot. 2.5D from what we can understand. It's a favourite of Phil Spencer's, I think. He's often wearing his Battletoads shirts at conferences. It could be brilliant if they get it right. But side-scrolling beat-em-ups now, difficult to do in the modern market. So keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on that one. And finally, Game Pass. It's getting a few new games. And they've already arrived. Fallout 4, ESO, they're on there now. So if you haven't tried those games, you've been waiting. £1, I think Game Pass is right now, or $1 for a month. Well worth it. You might as well just treat it as I'm renting this for a month. Right, let's move on to Bethesda then. It wasn't the best conference in the world. Had a few issues here and there, just in terms of its cringiness, until Todd Howard came on, and then the whole thing improved a reasonable amount. So let's go through it then. We had Rage 2, which I think looks pretty interesting. You know, the kind of colour range, the way they're reinterpreting that world. Id's kind of shooter tech, along with Avalanche's open world expertise, that could work very well indeed. And what we got treated to was the Eden Spacewalk mission walkthrough, playing as Walker. He called down like a space module thing that crashed into the ground and opened up, and he got new abilities because of it. I'm a bit tempted by Rage 2. They made Doom Eternal, just a teaser trailer. Looked like Hell on Earth, which was Doom 2. Well up for that. Remake of Doom was awesome. So then we had Prey. Very good game. Getting some free stuff via a new update, which has already happened. New Game Plus, a story mode, a survival mode, Moon Crash DLC, and the Typhon Hunter multiplayer, which is coming out later in the year. Great to see that game getting supported with extra content, and just great to see a game like that not disappear. And if you haven't played it, highly recommended if you're into your horror shooters. Very, very, very stunning game. We had a bit of a teaser for a Wolfenstein Youngbloods, which is the 2 daughters of BJ Blazkowicz. Not much, just a cinematic trailer, but quite nice to see it anyway. Then we had Mr. Todd Howard. Oh yes, Fallout 76. Now, I'm not sure about this game. There's a bit of mixed messaging going on, I believe. So it's 4 times bigger than Fallout 4. It's 25 years after the original Fallout, when the bombs dropped. It's got 6 distinct regions that all look different. It's always online. It's co-op, but no more than 12 players within the same server, or the same, loading up together to have 12 people there. Major base building going on. You can pretty much build wherever you want. And it's coming out November 14th, 2018. It's certainly more about your own experiences than the experiences you follow in a narrative, from what I can gather. Having players with you, creating towns that you can run and operate together, building them up. And there's also a weird mechanic where there's nukes placed around the world, and if you find the code to those nukes, you can then blow the hell up whatever you like within that vicinity, which could really spoil someone's day if they've taken 100 hours to build themselves an amazing town of some kind with wonderful structures. But hey, it is Fallout. Then we had the 2 teasers, and they were a bit lame. So we saw Starfield. It was really just not even a title screen. It was just a logo and a kind of feeling for it. And yeah, I'm interested in Starfield, but there's no point in getting excited because we've seen nothing tangible about it at all. And exactly the same goes for the final thing they showed, which was a teaser for The Elder Scrolls 6. Now, both of these games are going to be next gen, I would imagine. 2020, 2021? Probably the release dates. Somewhere around there. I don't know whether it's worth getting uber excited about this stuff yet. Once you've seen gameplay, once you know what these games actually are, 6 months' time, a year's time, when we know a hell of a lot more than we do now, then I think it's time to get excited. But at least we know they're there. We did anyway, but hey. So I thought Bethesda's conference was okay. Wasn't amazing, had some cool stuff, a lot of teasers where we didn't get any real sense of what the game properly was, but we know cool stuff is coming. So that's day 1 done. Day 2 started with Square Enix, and they had a terrible, terrible conference. Lasted 45 minutes. It didn't show anything new really at all, and it didn't work. It just didn't work well. I actually think it's probably the worst of all the presentations this year. But let's dive into the games. So Shadow of the Tomb Raider had an expanding trailer, and we saw quite a few more stealth type options in it this time. They've expanded a lot of that, and they've expanded the hub areas of the game, so there's a bit more expanse to what you do when you're playing. So yeah, it's Tomb Raider, isn't it? I'm sure it'll be pretty good. Then they showed us a bit more of the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit, which is obviously within the Life is Strange Season 2 world. And again, as I said before, it's an interesting concept, and if they get it right, Don't Nod could have a very cool little game on their hands. Babylon's Fall was the new, interesting thing we hadn't seen before. Made by Platinum, who are very hit and miss. For every Bayonetta, Vanquish, and Nier Automata, you have a Turtles game, which sucks. We'll see. We'll see. Just Cause 4 then, a walkthrough, quite a long gameplay segment, lots of stuff being blown up, Rico flying across things, hanging onto stuff, flying off stuff, grappling hooks, all those kind of typical conventions of what you'd expect to find in a Just Cause game. Will it be good? I don't know. They have changed engine. Maybe that'll improve the initial release jankiness that we had from Just Cause 3. The Quiet Man was another interesting one, where you play a protagonist who can't speak, and you generally kick ass from what I saw. But we will again, it's another one. We don't know a lot about it. Maybe it could be cool, but we need a lot more information before we can kind of derive anything cool from that game, apart from the fact it's a silent protagonist. And that was it. I mean, that was pretty much it. A few Dragon Quest things, a few Monster, Hunter things here and there. No mention of Final Fantasy VII, the remake. None whatsoever. And shockingly, no mention of the Avengers game. None whatsoever. I thought, wow, surely you want to end your press conference on something huge. And for Square Enix, that would have been it. I would have loved to have seen what they're doing with that. Oh well, not the best conference, I hope perhaps maybe they reevaluate what they're going to do next year. Then, Ubisoft, who started their conference with a dancing panda. Oh yeah, and an entourage of all kinds of other people dancing about, doing that whole Just Dance 19 stuff that they tend to do at the start of a lot of conferences now. They had very awkward presenters, I have to say. Very awkward indeed. Okay, so Ubi started with a big cinematic trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2, which still really intrigues me. I like the idea of an open or hub world set in this really unique sci-fi universe that doesn't seem very generic at all. I'm looking forward to it. We haven't seen a great deal of gameplay. There has been a few gameplay segments shown prior to E3. Some stuff about the ships and some stuff about combat. But we need a lot more to get a sense of how the game will function within this interesting world that they've created. Trials is coming back, and it's Trials Rising. And I'll tell you what, I am a huge Trials fan. It is funny as hell as a game, and it's so cool to play with friends, try and beat each other's times, all of that stuff. There'll be a closed beta later this year, and February 2019 seems to be every game coming out next year is coming out in February. A lot of games are coming out in February. I would suspect in part to one little known game called Red Dead 2, although that hasn't put off AC Odyssey, which we'll get to. We had another cinematic trailer for The Division 2, which is getting raids, free DLC, and is going to be way bigger than the first one, and set in Washington this time. I was okay with The Division. A lot of people really liked it. A lot of people went back to it after Ubisoft did their supporting thing, which they often do. Helping their games after launch, not forgetting about them, really trying to foster a good community around them and build it. So we'll see. I'd like to see a lot more. Maybe not my kind of thing. Then there was a big musical thing, because that's what Ubisoft do, about Mario and Rabbids, the Donkey Kong DLC. I haven't got a Switch, so it's not on my radar particularly, but for those Nintendo fans out there, you've got Donkey Kong coming to your Rabbids. Yes, you have. Then we had a game that I am very interested in. We saw it last year in a very, very short trailer, and that is Skull and Bones. Perhaps what Sea of Thieves should have been, to some extent. Loads of cool ships, customization, you can tackle ships online, you can call in other crews to help you, the graphics look absolutely stunning. It's clearly Assassin's Creed 4 and Rogues, and Origin to some extent, ship mechanics, ripped and turned into a game. Because it looks very Assassin's Creed, feels very Assassin's Creed. Yeah, but I'm well up for it. I love pirates, I love the open ocean, and I love sinking other ships who are just in my damn way while I'm pirating. So that is properly on my radar. I will be keeping an eye on it. Then we had Elijah Wood jumping on stage to talk about a new VR project he's working on called Transference, which looks like you can dive into people's memories, but then you need to escape. Another one to keep an eye on, perhaps. Some decent talent involved. But, we'll see. We'll see. Then there was a Starling Battle for Atlas trailer, which, I don't know, it seemed like a shooter from 10 years ago. 3D, third person, and they showed a bit of a Star Fox reveal, because he's going to be one of the playable ships, and of course that's the Ubi-Nintendo relationship just developing further. For Honor is getting a pretty big expansion and mode called Marching Fire, and the mode's called Breach. So we got a trailer for that. There's new factions, there's new fighters. Samurai, for instance, are going to be in the game, which is again, Ubi just support their games, man. They just support them really well. And the starter edition of the game was announced to be free for the E3 week on Uplay. So if you do want to try it out, you have got a gaming PC, that's your thing, go and grab it for free from Uplay, which is a terrible, terrible, terrible platform, but it's free, so go for it. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now I thought this looked pretty damn good. Spartans. Oh yes. The movement, the animation set for those characters looked absolutely beautiful. The way Spartans move, the shield up front, spear or sword over the top, and the kick, the Leonidas, "This is Sparta!" kick, was perfect. The world looks amazing. I just think it's going to be one of those games that a lot of people are going to like. And the fact it's out 2 weeks before Red Dead shows you that Ubisoft are like, there are enough Assassin's Creed fans out there to make this sell a hell of a lot, regardless of even something as big as Red Dead 2. Few other bits and pieces. Rainbow Six Siege is now played by loads of people, and The Crew 2 is getting towards its beta. That's coming out on June the 21st. And that was Ubisoft. Next up was Sony's, and it was a bit weird. So Layton came out, did his initial spiel. He seemed a bit weird as well, as opposed to last year. And they were in a church to begin with. So he was like, this is a church, this is a church of gaming. Congregation of gamers. There's something, I don't know, it's a little bit weird. So they opened up with a really nice reveal of The Last of Us Part 2. We started with a kiss, lesbian kiss. And then we went back into the world of Last of Us 2 as it exists then and there. And then we kind of cut back and forward. What was interesting was how scripted it looked. Because AI doesn't react like it does in those cutscenes. There's a moment where Ellie walks through a room with loads of enemies, slides around the side of a desk and comes round on the left-hand side and then goes through a little gap. And you could tell that the enemies within that trailer were scripted, not acting as AI would. So I'll be interested to see what they actually do in terms of AI when we get proper gameplay or get hands-on with it, which isn't too far off, sometime next year. Now, I find the reveal very cool. I'm a fan of The Last of Us, but I would have really liked to see proper gameplay. The atmosphere still is amazing. The dialogue was great. The aesthetic is absolutely stunning, as you would expect from Naughty Dog, who really seem to have nailed every one of their games lately. And I can't see this being any different. So very, very up for it. Lots of more stealth in there, even more than the original. Lots of brutal violence. So yeah, Last of Us is going to be one I'm going to be dipping into for sure. Next up was Ghost of Toshima. Probably going to get that pronunciation incorrectly, but hey. An open-world samurai game, of which there seems to be loads coming out. I'm not entirely sure why this year seems to be the year of the samurai. But I like it. I like it a lot. So this is a game developed by infamous developer Sucker Punch. And it was basically a character going through kind of feudal Japan, war-torn Japan, sneaking about, having sword fights, and generally kicking ass. And it looked very, very cool. So definitely another one to keep an eye on. We then got a bit of a crap trailer for Remedies' new game, Control. Now, I like Remedy. I'm a fan of Max Payne. I'm a really big fan of Alan Wake. Kind of Quantum Break, not so much. This was weird. It didn't show anything particularly cool. It didn't really give away too much about the game. And I need more to go on before I can pass any kind of judgment, which is a shame, because Remedy are a cool studio. We got a Resident Evil 2 remaster. Now, I'm a huge, huge fan of the Resident Evil series. They're like the best B-movie games you'll ever get in a horror sense. And I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil 2. It's probably my favourite Resident Evil. And yes, I know Code Veronica, I know Resident Evil 4, but there was something about playing the original and then 2 coming out, and suddenly you're in Raccoon City. Wow. Now, as long as they apply the new control schemes, as they did to Resident Evil 1, the remaster, to this, which I'm sure they are, and they brush up a lot of the bad design that was there at the time, I'm pretty up for this one. January 25th, 2019, so we got a bit of a way to go yet, but hey, Resi fans, Resi 2 Remake, not bad at all. Then we got another Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer, and we saw a bit of Pirates of the Caribbean. We'll just move on from there. Death Stranding was there. It didn't really make it any clearer what the game was about, apart from the cyclical nature of life, the fact this black stuff touches you and you decay or get older. Is the baby Norman Reedus' character? Is it not? Is it something else? And like 5 seconds of gameplay where we saw Norman Reedus' character with the baby walking a bit. Really cool. Yeah, top end stuff there. a bit of walking. It's Kojima, it'll be surreal, it'll be completely wacky. Until we actually see a gameplay trailer though, I think most people don't really know what the hell's going on. You can guess all we want. We can try and work out what the trailer's about, break it down, but there's so many meanings you can apply to what's being showed. It would take forever to get anything concrete. Next was a bit of a surprise, and that was Nioh 2. Now, I haven't played the first. It is on PlayStation. I could get it. I haven't got it. But again, another samurai game. A lot of people like Nioh, the first one. So, hey, if you're into that thing, sequel coming up, bit of a surprise. Might be cool. Spider-Man was up next, and that looked absolutely stunning. Insomniac have really picked it up with this game. I mean, they're a great studio anyway, but this looks very good. The combat looks very similar to a Rocksteady game. We talked about it before. QTE combat, almost. I'm not talking press X here, wait there, move the stick there. But in a combat situation, Y to counter, A to jump over, X to hit, throw in grapples and variations. It's almost like a QTE system within a quick fighting game mechanic. And it works in Spider-Man in a similar way from what we can look at, with more verticality, because obviously Spider-Man can jump up, land on things, uses webs, but the city as well. Just the way you can move across it. It's like Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 brought right kicking and screaming into 2018 with all the power of modern consoles. And I cannot wait. And finally, in the kind of main trove of things they showed, we have a From Software VR game called Derissine. A bit of a teaser, nothing major, could be interesting. We'll see what happens with that one. Last few things from Sony's press conference. Black Ops 4. If you pre-order it, you'll get free maps for Black Ops 3. Isn't that great? Doesn't that blow your mind? And, which is kind of cool, if you haven't got it already, you can get Black Ops 3 for free if you have a PS Plus subscription right now. And last but not least, Nintendo. So they showed Super Mario Party. That was up first. A lot of people love that game and that franchise. And it's a bit of a laugh to play. So, yeah. October 5th, by the way, for the release on that. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is getting some DLC in the form of Torn of the Golden Compass. Fire Emblem, The Three Houses is coming to the Switch. A lot of people are really into that franchise. The big one, as in third party, was obviously going to be Fortnite. That's coming to the Switch. Although there is a huge controversy at the minute, because if you have an account created on something other than a PS4, and then you use that account and log into it on the PS4, you can no longer use that account to then crossplay with anybody else. You do know it's 2018, Sony, yes? You don't have to have the walled garden just because you are the most popular console manufacturer. A bit weird and rather crap for consumers, but thanks. We'll see where that goes with Sony, because there's been quite a backlash thus far. Don't forget, Fortnite's now 175 million players or something. Pretty much the biggest game on the planet right now. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some rather heated exchanges in the Sony boardroom about this particular decision. And we had Hollow Knight, that's coming to the Switch. Cool game. I think it suits the Switch as well. I think it suits it. So I expect that to do rather well. And then finally, which was really most of the entire press conference, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's 8 players. It's got about 60 characters. They went through almost every single one of them. We're getting brand new stages that link to other parts of Nintendo's storied franchises. It was a complete blowout. Like, it must have been 20 minutes almost, with the other prior trailers taking up almost no time at all. Shame we didn't get to see a Metroid Prime. I was looking forward to maybe seeing a bit of Metroid there. But decent conference, they did quite well, and it was nice to have a game which was really focused on. So yeah, that was Nintendo. Just a few honourable mentions. Limited Run had a conference, and it was not good. Really bad audio, terrible attempt at humour, A weird fake 3D E3 stage with cardboard cutouts. If you don't know who they are, they make physical releases for games that might not get physical releases in a limited run sense, for collectors, etc. We had the PC Gaming Conference. It was well presented, had some nice selections of games. Not really my thing, not a huge PC gamer, but the conference itself was pretty good. Devolver Digital did a similar thing to last year, but it wasn't quite as funny. It was almost as funny, but wasn't quite as funny. But if you do want to give that a watch, by all means, it's one of those cool E3 laughs we get to have somewhere amongst all the big boys doing their serious conferences. Let's move on to a bit of a summary. Quite frankly, I think Microsoft knocked it out of the park. Exclusive, world exclusive, 5 new studios. Brilliant, well done. People weren't expecting it. They knocked it out of the park for me. Absolutely smashed it. Ubisoft did bloody well. Lots of cool games shown. A generally good presentation. Quite entertaining. A bit crap in parts, but very small parts. And Ninty, pretty good. Focus on that one big game, but have a few other reveals as well. I think they did well for their fans. Sony had a decent conference. Decent game shown. Last of Us had a really big reveal. Spider-Man looked amazing. Ghost of Toshima looked very good indeed. But the conference itself was a bit naff. Especially after showing Last of Us Part 2 and then having like a 25-minute break while they moved every single person from the church to where the actual event was taking place. Just show the 4 or 5 trailers next time, Sony, if that's what you're going to do. That's what I reckon anyway. Bethesda, a bit misguided here and there. A bit too much teaser trailery rather than actual full-on gameplay. 76 was the focus. Rage 2 looks good. Conference could have been better. EA were terrible, quite frankly. Really bad press conference. Not much to show bar sports games and Anthem and a few other bits and pieces, but still better than Squeenix. Square Enix's conference was absolutely diabolically bad. Really, really bad. And by the time it ended, no surprises. They'd shown everything at other people's press conferences already. Meh. A whole load of meh. Right. Thank you very much for listening to this extended E3 discussion video for the 2018 conferences, generally across the board. Talk to me in the comments. What are you looking forward to? What looked cracking? What didn't you expect? What would you have liked to have seen that you didn't see? Mortal Kombat 11, for instance. Was there anything that you think just looked terrible? And that's no way to have a first impression. If you liked the vid, hit that like button. Maybe think about subbing to the channel. If you disliked the video, hit that dislike button. Not everybody likes everything. I have been Citizen Sleeve. Take it easy. I shall see you very soon. Citizen Sleeve.